on, what's this, Monday, January 13th, 2020. And we think we're the Development and Governmental Relations Subcommittee to the Holyoke City Council, but we're not sure. So I'm just going to, I'm just going to read an email that I received. Let's see, I got it 4:22 p.m. today. That may or may not have been a response to Mike Bloomberg wrote an, let me see what that is. Mike Bloomberg wrote a meeting, wrote an email to, Mike Bloomberg is his title is Chief of Staff for the Mayor. Though we don't have that in ordinance, but just my little side note. He wrote an email to our administrative assistant. I can't tell what time it was. Ryan, is DGR happening tonight? Have committee assignments come out yet? Then he wrote an email at 12:01 to the law department. Crystal, can there be a subcommittee meeting if committees haven't been appointed yet? Does it just carry over? Mike. And then at 4:22 p.m., the law department wrote, and I quote, "It could be a violation of open meeting law. I have a call into the Attorney General's office because this isn't the first question I've received about this. An article about Greenfield, I assume it means the town of Greenfield, suggests they were quick to elect committees to allow them to, quote, get to work, unquote. An article about Framingham, again, I assume it's the town of Framingham, also suggests that committees be chosen prior to any deliberation, as they've actually selected a temporary committee to make decisions until full committees are selected. The violation would come from the undetermined quorum. And this is the law department, reached out to Westfield, again, I assume City Westfield, for some brainstorming, and they also strongly urged not to meet until committees were formed, due to the possible violation. Without a determination directly from the Attorney General's office, again, it's the law department, I would err on the side of caution and not meet at this time, end quote. Now, I am going to refrain from commenting further, and I'll let any committee members make a motion that they want to make. You have the law department here, so I'll recognize any member who wants to raise his hand at this time. Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah. Could you repeat that part about the violation and a quorum? That
I think you might want to have, you might want to suspend and have the law department expand upon it, but let's just see what it says here. The violation would come from the undetermined quorum. Now, yeah, go ahead. So I think that's where you...
So if the violation would come from an undetermined quorum, that would mean the new committee would file a violation against the old committee? Is that what could you explain that, Chris? Could we suspend our rules?
Suspend the rules. Second.
Motion made and seconded, suspend the rules, allow the law department to speak on the motion. All in favor? Aye.
So there's no committee right now selected, which means we don't know if you all constitute a quorum of that committee because we don't know who the committee should be, is where your violation is going to come from. Whether or not you have a quorum to have a meeting right now, we don't know because we don't know what the committee is.
So it's not safe to say that the old committee would carry over from the prior year until a new committee is selected?
I don't see that in our city council rules.
And does it say against it in the city council rules?
It doesn't. That's why I have a call into the AGO's office. It's kind of an anomaly that we haven't run into before, to my knowledge.
Yep.
What about Robert's rules? Because our rules clearly say if it's not delineated within our rules, then Robert's rules prevail.
I don't have a thorough dig into Robert's rules today.
Well, all right, this is Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, just
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if that one of us was on this committee and two other counselors showed up, and there were no other committee members, that those two counselors could constitute a quorum, if I'm not mistaken. I know I've sat in, even though I wasn't on other committees, when they did not have a quorum, I was able to be there to make the quorum.
So what Counselor Murphy's referring to is an order I filed, and we passed it, to amend the city council rules to allow non-members of a standing committee to serve on that committee for the purposes of obtaining a quorum. So it's Rule 32 something or other. I don't remember I think it's 32 and whatever it is. There's a letter with it. I can't remember. But we do have that rule. So yes, that's a city council rule that says if a subcommittee of the city council meeting at an appointed time does not have members of the committee present to make a quorum, then any duly elected member of the city council in chambers that night can sit on that committee for the purposes of making a quorum. That's in fact the rule of the city council.
So if I can, my only other
Yep.
question was, because I do think that technically we would be a quorum one way or the other. But my other question would be if Councilor Bartley is not the chair, and since the agenda was developed by Councilor Bartley, does that potentially create any problem?
I mean, the agenda, it doesn't matter who created the agenda. That's not an issue.
Okay.
And
Councilor Sullivan?
I would, hearing what I've heard so far and knowing also that the decisions of this committee are not binding, anything that went forward would go before the full city council anyways. I would say to go ahead with the meeting and continue with business as normal.
So I would second that,
Well, yeah.
if we
Yeah,
need it.
yeah, we probably will need a vote on that. So, for what it's worth, I feel the same way. So just so the public is aware, we had an election last November, but, you know, the public may say, well, why don't you guys have this together? Well, the way it works in Holyoke City Council is that we have to first name a city council president. Our president, happened to be re-elected January 6th or 7th?
Seventh.
7th, I'm sorry, January 7th.
No, 6, you're right.
6th or 7th, or whatever it is. So in here, so you can't really. Now, President McGee did call me at about 5 o'clock. I told him that we would say this, that we'd do this on the microphone. You know, you can't really blame the president. The only thing he told me was that there were 2 city council members that have not replied to his repeated emails to let the president know what committees on which they want to serve. Now, that's on the 2 counselors who are unnamed. So I don't know who they are. I don't care who they are. But to me, it's not great form to not get back to the city council president in a week's time. Because now we see the little hang up here. I'm sorry, it's a technicality for the public. You're probably saying, what is this gong show about? Well, unfortunately, there's something called, not fortunately, but unfortunately for you, while we're doing this, open meeting law. We can't violate open meeting law. I mean, that's certainly one of the tenets of public societies, that we have open meetings. So, which, by the way, means no texting during meetings as well. I wish council members would remember that, but somehow, and mayors would remember that, but sometimes they don't. I'll leave it to I said to President McGee, I said, I'll leave it to the body. I have my opinion on it. My opinion is we should proceed forward, but that's just me. Councilor Tallman, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I just say I've been here a number of years, and I don't ever recall having a meeting until the committee assignments were done. I mean, it seems this was a little bit early to have a meeting. I got the agenda, and I understand that we do have that, and now with the open meeting law, which is probably, I don't know how many years in play here. sometimes in January, we hadn't had a committee meeting until towards the end of January. So that's what I feel. I mean, and my question is too, what happens if we do have the meeting? What is the violation? Does this meeting become null? Is there a fine against the city council? Is it something that,
Ask the law department.
yeah. Could I ask, Attorney?
Right, it's determined by the Attorney General's office how they want to go about it, whether we have to revote or whether they issue fines. It's completely under their discretion. Generally, if you shouldn't have been voting and you are voting, they could be void. But it's up to them.
My question is too, if we make votes tonight and pass some things, for some properties or whatever, and then we find out that they're not good, then what happens, Does that mean it's just like a waste of our time?
If they decide that the votes are void, yes, you'd have to come back and re-vote and do it all over again.
Council Sullivan?
Yeah, but none of the votes here are binding. It's just a recommendation to the full council. It's only the full council vote that matters.
Attorney Barnes?
I mean, you have a point. Like I said, I haven't dug into this research all day long. I had another project going on. That's why your email went out at 4:20 this afternoon. I wish I had all the answers right now. I can only get a response from the Attorney General's office so fast. I mean, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now.
Well, I heard what Councilor Tallman said. It isn't usual, but I'll just remind Councilor Tallman that he was, along with the rest of us, voted on this meeting date at the last meeting. So you do recall that vote?
I do recall that,
Okay,
yeah.
so I want to make that clear.
Well, I wasn't sure that the assignments would be done at that time either. I mean, that was about a month ago.
That's fine, but that's fine. Nobody knew, but we had hoped that we'd have committee assignments set, but, we all voted for this meeting date. It wasn't set by the chair. So I just want to make that abundantly clear.
Can I just ask one
Councilor
more?
Murphy.
Yeah, just one more. I know this is gray area, but if any one of us were a part of the DGR committee for this year, and therefore the other two or three of us would be counselors that agreed to sit in on the committee to make it a quorum, would that potentially, I mean, as long as somebody here is on the committee, would that make it a valid meeting? I mean, we have advertised the meeting. That part, I think we've done everything else correctly, so.
You've advertised the meeting, the agenda is accurate. I mean, you should be able to discuss on the agenda, but you don't know who the chair is, you don't have a vice chair to take that place, and you don't know who the committee is to determine whether or not you have a quorum. And your rules state that you have a chair or a vice chair to take their place. So unless you get lucky, and I mean, the odds are that, yes, it probably will be similar to the committee of last year. We don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't know about the odds. I'm of the opinion that this would fall within Robert's rules. And even if it doesn't fall within Robert's rules, we have our own rule, wherever that rule 32 is. But there certainly are holdover committees until a new committee is named. I think we should march forward, but on the other side, I kind of feel we should be unanimous about it too, so there's that.
I feel we should march forward also.
But there's no provision for unanimity, so, I mean, if a counselor feels uncomfortable about it, counselor does not have to participate. I mean, I think that the only binding vote we would take on here, as far as I can tell, is the meeting minutes, and we did receive them. We can just table them. So that's the only binding vote we would take, is accept the meeting minutes. We don't move that to the full city council. And then the rest would be, I mean, I think that FY, I'll have to talk to the department about the reprogramming, but I don't know if that's a binding vote. Three is a kind of an FYI type thing, so 6 let me see, four is an FYI. 5 and 6 are votes to,
7, too.
5, 6, and 7 are votes to, oh, well, okay, wants to accept an offer. Okay, so, okay, 5 is 5 surplus? No? No, okay, well, 5, 6, and 7 are, again, there'd be recommendations anyhow, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And 9 is an FYI. I can, if the law department feels uncomfortable about providing information, we can table that and let the law department get back to work or go home. We can certainly table 1, and the rest of them, in my opinion, I think we can take them up. The only alternative would be, but again, I don't know when we can schedule another meeting date, because I had no indication from the president as to when he's going to be prepared to. So you have people here waiting, department heads waiting.
Do we also suspend our rules to allow a department head to speak?
Sure. So you want these,
Alicia,
gotta make a motion, Mike.
motion,
Let's second that.
Motion made and seconded to allow the department head to address us. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
With all due respect, if there's a question about whether or not this meeting was posted and being held in compliance with the open meeting law, I would respectfully request that my item be continued to the next scheduled DGR meeting, because it is, in terms of reporting to HUD, it's a binding decision on what the vote of DGR was in terms of these recommendations. And we operate within compliance with the open meeting law. And so if there's any question about that, I would just respectfully request that you continue my item until the next agenda.
Well, we would table it. That's easy.
Thank you.
No problem. So, well, what's your pleasure? Well, Mr. Dijak, why don't, under suspension, Mr. Dijak, why don't you give us your take on the other orders that are relevant to your...
I'm prepared to present
turn-
information.
Turn the mic on, John.
I'm prepared to.
No,
I'm prepared to.
no, one more time, I can see the switch.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm prepared to present information. The applicant for the real estate is here, and we'd be happy to present, and if needed, we would come back and present again, I believe.
Okay. Well. What's your pleasure?
I'm ready to go.
I'm a little bit uncomfortable about going on with the meeting, considering the law department's viewpoints on this, having the meeting without a committee actually in place, a standing committee in place.
Well, like I said, I think it's, though I disagree with that. I think if we're not, I mean, we don't have to be unanimous, but it's probably in the best interest to be unanimous, so. I mean, I wouldn't want to make a mistake. And it's unfortunate that we're in this position. I feel bad for anybody who's here, but I think that through an abundance of caution, we may have to sort of just table this whole agenda until we get some direction. Probably have to be the best way. Unfortunately, I don't know when we can. I mean, there's really no point in scheduling another meeting because we just have no direction from the council president. There is an ordinance meeting tomorrow, which is very full agenda as well. So I would imagine they're in the same shoes, and I don't see how that goes forward if there's any kind of change. So,
Could I ask another question?
Council Murphy.
Yeah, so obviously we advertise this as a meeting. If we don't hold a meeting, are we in violation of advertising a meeting and not holding a meeting?
No, it happens due to weather all the time. You can cancel a meeting.
Okay.
Well, I would have felt bad if we didn't meet, especially when there's no weather issue here, and the only time it's weather when City Hall closes, I guess that's, yeah. I think the safest course is to, Crystal, do we need to, I just got an email, do we need to, reapprove our city council rules when we start the session? Or do those just carry over?
That I'm not aware of. I don't think we've done that in the past. We've just amended the rules.
No, I think we voted to approve them.
I think we vote every year,
We vote to approve them every
every term, every new term. I
new
think.
term, yeah. So we didn't do that, for some reason. That wasn't organized. I don't even know if we did it 2018 either. I have no recollection of that. I know we've done it in years prior, but I have no recollection of doing that in 2018. Just don't. So, that being said, I think we're probably really gonna have to err on the side of caution. Sadly, I'm a little frustrated by it. This is the way I look at it. If I'm named the chairman, I will have a meeting. Well, I shouldn't say that. I will recommend a meeting for Wednesday, the 22nd. Does anybody have a problem on Wednesday, the 22nd? Councilor Murphy?
Not that I know of.
Councilor Tallman?
No problem.
Councilor Sullivan?
Nope.
All right. I just, again, I thank the whole committee, because let us not forget, these are all, well, oh, you guys are really tired, aren't you? Jeez, I'm the only one who's still working.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Is the 22nd a holiday?
No, sir, no, the Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the 20th.
20th.
That's Monday, the 20th. Wednesday, the 22nd is
Yep.
a non-holiday. So why don't we leave it at that? Leave it at that for the public and for the department heads. What we'll shoot for the 22nd at 6 o'clock, and we'll just have to
See what happens.
see what happens
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I just think that's sadly, that's the best way. It's nobody's fault, just one of those things. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
On the motion to adjourn, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.